Hello and welcome again to our reading of Acts of the Apostles. We're in chapter 8, verse 26. This is the story of Philip and the Ethiopian eunuch. Angelos de kuriou elalesen pros Philippon legon. And an angel of the Lord called to Philip, saying, Arise and go. These are imperatives here. This is from an histemi imperative, and this is the middle imperative from poruomai. Kata mesembrian, that's the middle of the day. It's a perfectly good classical word. So arise and go at the middle of the day on the road, the one which leads down, participle, feminine participle, agreeing with hodon, which is a feminine noun, as you see from the article, which leads down from Jerusalem into Gaza. And this is eremos, this is deserted. So I might just have a quick look at a map here just to see what's happening here. So he's going from Jerusalem and he's going down into there's Gaza here on the map. We'll see Ashdod mentioned a little bit later on, just to give you some idea of where these places are. From Jerusalem into Gaza, and this place was eremos, desolate. This was, or perhaps this was, a desert. Eremos can be used either as an adjective, meaning desolate or bare, or as a noun, meaning desert. In the latter, it's a feminine noun, because it's anything connected with the earth in Greek, even though it ends in os, is a feminine noun, as in he hodos and he eremos. And having got up, he went. So participle there, and behold a man who was an Ethiops, an Ethiopian, eunuchos, a eunuch, literally a keeper of the bed. Eune is bed, and the uk here is connected with echo, literally a bed holder. And he's a dunastes, which is a masculine first declension noun. So he is an official, perhaps a man of power, man of authority. So an official of Kandake, the queen of the Ethiopians. Now, according to Pliny, this name Kandake was a generic name for a series of queens who ruled over Meroe, which is down below Egypt, where the Ethiopians came from. And he was epi, in charge of. This is an interesting use of epi here. It's the same usage you see in the Septuagint. So he was over, so he was in charge of all of her gadzes, probably treasury. This may be a Persian word, in fact, gadzes. We get the term gadzophylakion, the guard of the treasury and so on, who, now this is a pluperfect here, who had gone, and we get a future participle from proskuneo. And you see that sigma there tells you it's a future participle, who had gone with the intention of worshipping in Jerusalem. So interesting to note that he was a Jewish convert, even though he's from Ethiopia. And he was hupostrepone participle. This is a periphrastic construction here. He was returning, and he was kathamenos, he was sitting upon his harmatos. This is genitive, from harma, a chariot. Well, it's probably not meant to be just an ordinary chariot. Presumably it's some sort of very large structure that he would have had an entourage with him of people. So he's being transported back. So he translated as harma is a chariot in Greek, so I suppose we have to say that, on his chariot. And he was reading the prophet Isaiah. Presumably somebody else was steering the chariot. And the Spirit said to Philip, Come and koletheeti. Now this is a passive, aorist passive imperative ending from kolao is the verb. Kolao literally means to glue, but here to attach yourself. So be attached to this chariot. So perhaps make yourself known and join in with this chariot. It's probably more like a caravan of people rather than a single chariot here, but that's what it says. Pros dramone. Now this is from pros. The verb here is trecho, to run, and the aorist is edramon. It's an irregular aorist, and so there's the root dram in here. So this is pros plus this, and this is an aorist, strong aorist participle formed from trecho. So he was running, Philip was running beside and heard him, that is the eunuch, genitive participle here agreeing with autu, from anaginosko, to read. So he heard him reading Isaiah the prophet. Now, of course, he did hear him, because in those days, in fact for many centuries, people did not read quietly to themselves the way they do now. They read out aloud, and so it makes perfect sense that he hears him reading out Isaiah the prophet. And he said, Arage. Now, ara introduces a question, which we have here, and the get is something like in fact. So do you in fact know, or perhaps understand, that which, they've left out the tautaha, that which you are reading? And he said, how, an dunaiman, how would I be able? Now this is an interesting form here. This is an optative form. So it's how would I be able to understand what I'm reading, unless someone hodegese will, hodeio is to lead. It's got that hodos, away. So unless someone explained it to me, took me along the path of understanding. And he invited, from Paracalio, Philip, having got up, to sit with him. And the perioke, this is quite a rare word. It means a portion or section of a book. It's sort of like our excerpt, a perioke. And the section or the portion of the scripture which he was reading was this. So this was the description of the portion of scripture that he was reading. And the quotation is from Isaiah 53. Hos probiton, like a sheep, ache they is gathered. Now that is from ago, sorry, is led, I should say. That is from ago, I lead, and the alpha gets augmented. We've got an aorist passive form theta eta, and the gamma before the theta, this is a voiced guttural. It gets turned into a aspirated guttural. So you get achthe from ago. So he was, so like a sheep is led to the slaughter, and as a lamb before the one shearing. This is from kero, to shear, genitive participle here. The one having shorn him. So as a lamb before the one who has shorn him, understand, is aphonos, alpha privative plus this phonio root, is without voice, or dumb. Hutos, uk anoige, thus he did not open his mouth. And in his tapenosis, this is an abstract noun, the nominative is tapenosis, third declension, and in his lowliness, or his humiliation. Now the autu's been added here, it's not in the original Septuagint, and it's not in some of the manuscripts. His judgment, erethe, this is from Iro. Erethe is from Iro, to take, perhaps take away here, and you get an augment, but the iota doesn't go subscript, it just disappears. The rho survives, and you've got your aorist passive the. So in his humiliation, his judgment was taken away, and who of his generation, or rather, who will relate? This is from D. Hageomai. Who will relate his generation? Because his life, Iratai, has been taken from the earth. And I'll finish at that quotation.